This video was supposed to come out a month or two ago, but unfortunately, lack of time and my inability to put my thoughts on paper pushed it back to this part. But it is here now, so I hope you enjoy it. But yeah, of course, one more thing. First time recording a video, I'm recording with a cell phone, a very old cell phone at that. Not the best camera, so might not look too good. Hope that's kind of acceptable, man. Bear with me. Oh god damn it, I forgot. I'm not gonna re-record this. On to the video. So, Elden Ring was kind of a mixed experience for me. I'm calling it mixed because the negative aspects of this game really sticks out, but at the same time, the overall experience was actually a very positive one. I really did have a great time playing this game. But unfortunately, as I said, the negative sides are just something that I cannot put put aside. Like, if I think about Dark Souls or Sekiro, those games were like, they definitely had their own issues and whatnot, but at the end though, if I think about the overall experience, they just completely overshadow any sort of negative issues that might have had been in that game. But in case of Elden Ring though, the negative aspects just stuck out like a sore thumb. Now, could this be because I went in with a set of expectations? Yes, definitely. That definitely is there. But even in presence of that scenario, I think the issues that I have found are legitimate, and it's just a matter of how much it bothers different players at an individual level. Pretty obvious thing to say, From Software clearly had a goal while making this game. Their goal was to make an open world that makes players intrigued to go and explore every single corner of it. And I have to say, goddamn, they were successful in doing that. Never was I ever so intrigued to go around and search every nook and cranny of an open world, collect every single chest and shiny things that I can find, go and clear every enemy camps that I can see. And of course, seek out every single NPC that's out there, and of course, failing to complete their quest every single time. Goddamn it, I was so bad at that. The fact that we as a player must go out there and seek out different things in the world was such a great approach. Now, I know I have heard from a lot of people that this is nothing new, that it has been done before by other games in the past, but I never got to experience those, and this was my first time experiencing it, and I just absolutely loved it. I have played other massive open world games before. I have played Assassin's Creed Origins recently, and in all those games I kind of felt like that the open world was purposeless. There was no point of exploration, everything was just guided, and things that I discover or find in the open world were just nothing too much of value. I remember constantly in Witcher 3 when I opened up chests in the open world, they were just had some materials that I was never going to use ever in the entire game, or find a weapon which was always inferior to the one that I was carrying back at that time. And the one that I was carrying back at that time, I just bought it from the armory or the blacksmith or the shop. I can't remember too well. But the point is, if I can get a good gears from the shop itself, then why should I go out there in the open world and explore? Now, I know how everyone is already talking about this unguided aspect of this game, but it's important to understand that Elden Ring would not have been the same game if we had map markers and some quest logs floating about on our screen. Going around the world casually and stumbling upon different things was definitely something that I did not know I needed. And the highlights of this aspect of the game were those surprise bosses. Unfortunately, I watched a lot of promotion videos before the game came out, so Akhil was not a surprise for me. It was spoiled, but luckily, that wasn't the end of it. That part. Wait, what? Why do I have a fucking boss fight over here? But unfortunately, all these things are only available in Limgrave or at Limgrave. The game does not have anything new to show after it. I mean, there were items to be found, there were good items, there were NPC quest lines to be followed, the caves and dungeons were there, of course the surprise bosses were there. But the thing is, it gets tiresome. It gets tiresome to have a bird or a dragon drop down on me every single time. Again and again. It gets tiresome to clear off the same dungeons and caves, or like same-ish. They do have some sort of variety in it, but it's more or less the same thing. Like, it's the map, the entire activity just revolves around doing the same things in all over the place in different areas. It does make sense if we go by the world design aspect, but it's not fun, which is subjective of course, but I just cannot ignore it. And the caves and dungeons, especially the dungeons, definitely vary and add puzzle elements to them. I especially love the teleportation chest dungeon, but at the end though, it kept me wanting for something more, something different. Despite how much I enjoyed what the game had to offer, I cannot push aside the repetitiveness of everything, and that left me disappointed. I think they went a bit too big with this game, and maybe if they had made it a bit smaller, these kind of issues would not have appeared. Apart from this, I also felt the areas after Limgrave lackluster. It's hard to explain, but post Limgrave my interest in exploration was mixed with ever so increasing feeling of tedium. The aforementioned things definitely has its part in it, but apart from that, I also did not enjoy the rest of the areas topography wise. Limgrave felt very fleshed out with all those variations in the land throughout the area. Like you had a sea to the east, then if you go to the west you get a lake past which you get a foggy forest. Towards the south we had the island peninsula. It felt the variations in the topography made the exploration really interesting. But contrast to this, if you look into the next area, Liurnia of Lakes, it was just a massive water body that was surrounded by a cliff and sprinkled with some forest and trees. I don't know, like in that area I always got lost so often. I just never had any proper idea as to where exactly I was at any given point of time. This actually made it very frustrating to explore. But of course this could be definitely just a personal thing. I do not know about that, but I did feel that the topography wise the areas kind of were lacking post Limgrave, which is of course the first area. So basically after the first area, all the areas I found it a bit boring. Sorry. And one more little thing that I want to add, the world kind of felt really dead and empty. Like it does make sense based on the story and the lore of the game, but I can't help but think that the game would have benefited with a few small towns, like busy towns and cities, along with the ghosted ones. Alas though, at the end I still put a lot of hours in exploring the world, which does represent how much I liked doing it despite my complaints. But it definitely could have done a lot better and made it even more great in comparison to the current game. Now to talk about the combat of this game though, I really liked it a lot. I mean, the changes that they have made were some of the really cool changes. Of course I did not like the nerf rolling though. I did not enjoy that. They should have kept the Dark Souls 3 rolling. It was really important given how the bosses were designed in this game. But other than that, I really love the inclusion of Ashes of War jumping, power stancing, and the horseback combat. I loved it so much. Anytime I got a chance to do horseback combat, I did not lose the chance to engage in it. Tree Sentinel, I fought it on horseback, man. Absolutely amazing experience. I love jousting there. But to put it simply, the changes in the combat really were significant, to say the least. Ashes of War were used in plenty. Power stancing, I played the entire game power stancing. Only in the beginning little bit I did not power stance because I could not. But after I unlocked the power stancing, had enough stats for it, I just went for power stancing all the way, man. Power stance to ultra great swords, power stance to curved great swords. Then where to power stancing to katanas. I just love that. Like the amount of damage output that thing gives out is just insane. And of course jump attack is something really, really amazing. Excuse me for the background noise there. Can't help it, man. So yeah, the combat changes were really welcoming. I loved it a bit. I really have no complaints whatsoever. Of course some Ashes of Wars like the Bloodhound Step, which I really used a lot, were definitely very overpowered and definitely needs a nerf, which has been nerfed in the recent update. But still, I really don't care too much because I'm a PvE player mostly, and given how bosses function in this game, and goddamn, those were really important. But that actually brings in one more important aspect of the game where negativity really sticks out: the enemy and the bosses. But before I go into that, I also forgot to mention about the spirit summons. That is something that I'm really not sure if I like it or not. I did not use it too often. I used it against Margit just to test it out and just finish the fight so dissatisfyingly. I used the jellyfish on Margit and he just stumbled around instantly. I regret it till date, man. I just regret it till date. And then I used it against the twin gargoyles, the most bullshit fight, one of the most bullshit fight in the game. I used Mimic Tears in there. and I was forced to use it against Malikit because that fight was really hard. And by the time I was like, I did not have any more patience in me to keep on playing that game. Now coming into the enemy designs, coming back to the enemy designs, enemy designs and bosses, my only major complaint against it is the excessive repetitiveness of the enemies. It just felt like throughout the entire game I just kept on fighting the same dudes all over the place. I mean, in Limgrave I had those soldiers wearing golden armor, then I go into Caelid, they were wearing red armor, I go to some other area, they were wearing blue armor. That's all there's to it. If I actually go back to thinking about Dark Souls 3, each area had different kind of enemies and they had different mechanics and different movesets which were really interesting to engage with. The High Wall of Lothric had the undead soldiers and the Lothric knights. A road to sacrifice was where those transforming beasts nested alongside lycanthropes. And Erithril, oh, the ever beautiful Erithril, housed the elegant pontiff knights. Every area was varied in terms of enemy design. But in contrast to it, as I said in Elden Ring, we had knights in blue clothes, knights in red clothes, knights in golden clothes. And of course, there are I won't complain to the overall enemy variety of it. There were definitely a lot of enemy types in the world, but the thing is that those same enemies were completely reused in each and every single area. Like, I would have really preferred a Dark Souls 3 style approach where different areas actually had different enemies, or at least had majority of different enemies instead of like facing the same guys again and again all over the place. Now coming to a more of a contentious topic, I believe, because a lot of people love them, I mean, and a lot of people kind of were considered to be a drop in quality, including me. These are the bosses. Like, bosses in Elden Ring is something that I liked it in one way, that they were more challenging and stuff, but oof, like mechanically they just felt so lacking. Now if I compare these bosses to other games, bosses in other games, they definitely are top tier. They are definitely a lot better. But if you compare it with the likes of the bosses in DS3, Dark Souls 3, it definitely is a drop in quality. Like, yeah, they are more difficult, but difficulty doesn't necessarily mean better. And once again, they were definitely fun to fight against, not all by the way, but they all felt like fighting the same guy. Yeah, they have different moveset, they look different in terms of design, but I guess in terms of the challenge that it threw at me, they all felt the same. It's hard to explain like this, so let me just bring in the Dark Souls 3 bosses. I think about Abyss Watchers and I remember how it was a 3-party boss fight with additional conditions. Pontiff was straight up a get good boss fight. Nameless King challenge came in from role checking, and even if I talk about the lesser bosses like Crystal Sage and the Deacons, they had different challenges for me as a player. Now if I think about Elden Ring bosses, I cannot pick anything unique out of those encounters. All of them were just a varying mixture of Nameless King, Sister Frieda and Gale, just to name a few. They were all just doing infinite combos and AoEs and stuff like that. I just did not feel anything different from them. And the freaking duo bosses. Fuck those duo bosses, especially those two gargoyles, man. I hated it so much. Damn, those were so horrible. Like, how can you mess it up? Like, after making boss fights and the likes of Ornstein and Smaug and the twin demons, yeah, of course, not too many people, that there are a lot of people who did not like that too, but still, they were still a lot better in comparison to twin gargoyles. And of course, the gargoyle fight in Dark Souls 1 and the twin princess, the twin Lothric princess in Dark Souls 3, the Abyss Watchers, a 3-party boss fight. After balancing it out so well in each and every one of those fights, how can you go and end up messing it so badly in this game? I thought you were supposed to learn from those previous experiences and make a better game, but you just made it really worse. How the hell does that even happen? Coming into that, actually, the bosses, especially the duo bosses, were really designed around the spirit summons, because each and every time I have seen, like, against duo bosses, when I use spirit summons, it actually becomes a lot more manageable. Not easy, manageable. So this is the reason why before I said, like, I don't exactly know how I feel about this spirit summons, because inclusion of that was definitely something that added a new mechanic to the game, which is enjoyable to engage with, but at the same time it affected the quality of one of the core aspect of Soulsborne games, its bosses. And finally, those repeated bosses, when goddamn From Software really love their Asylum demons a lot, don't they? Before I conclude, I just want to talk a tad bit about the NPC quest and the side quest basically, which is something that I really liked. I mean, as I said, I like the fact that I had to go and seek out in the open world those NPCs and then listen to the dialogues and then sort out their problems, which is really, really great. I like it when games actually does that, make me use a bit of my brain. But at times, I did find that they were a bit too vague. Like, the one that really comes up in my mind is Fia's quest when she hands over the dagger. I forgot the dagger's name, and she gives the dagger and then asks it to return to the person whom it actually belonged to. And she gave absolutely no hint whatsoever whom I need to give that dagger to, and I was completely lost. Like, who the hell even need to give that to? At least I know you cannot just say outright the name outright, which is understandable. Helps out in the gameplay department, but at least you can give me some sort of hint of where I can find him, or maybe give a short description about him, like how he looks, he wears a particular type of armor or something. But at the end, though, accidentally or so, I did find the person out and the quest has been completed. But then again, as I said, sometimes some quests were a bit too vague for their own good. But again, considering how this is the only example that I can remember right now, it kind of represents how far in between this problem exactly was. Elden Ring again is one of From Software's masterpiece, just like all of their games are, and it probably is the winner of Game of the Year for 2022. But of course, God of War Ragnarok is coming out, so there will be quite a bit of competition there, very heavy competition, but it is what it is. Like, I do believe that Elden Ring is a great game and it deserves the Game of the Year award. From Software's magnum opus, yes, I guess so, given how popular this game is and how the kind of design From Software created. It definitely is a magnum opus. But personally, I still prefer Sekiro and Dark Souls 3 over Elden Ring, and I'm saying this after playing Sekiro and Dark Souls 3 post Elden Ring. I think this being their first open world game, they went a bit overboard and took a bigger bite than what they can chew. And I think a lot of problems that the game had, in my opinion, would have been reduced if the open world was a bit smaller. The enemies and bosses would have felt a little bit less repetitive, and more or less mild boredom I felt from the exploration maybe could have been totally removed. Maybe they could have gotten a bit more time to add a bit more life and variety to the world also. But at the end though, the important thing is that this is the best game that has been released in 2022 so far, and probably even in the last decade. A bit of a big claim to be made by someone who just started gaming in 2019, more or less. But I don't think I'm really that wrong, and if I am, please do hit the comment section and correct me. And also, do share your thoughts on Elden Ring, and if it is going to be if you think it is deserving of the Game of the Year for 2022. With all that said and done, this is my first video on a face cam. It's kind of a bit I won't say awkward, but it's a bit disturbing, like script camera. I'm not really good at remembering things, so hope you enjoyed it. And if there were some things that you did not like, again, feel free to hit the comment section and tell me about it. I'll keep on trying to improve it, camera quality, and of course my own performance in these videos. And yeah, I don't have anything to say much for closing over here. But yeah, thank you for watching. It really means a lot for me. And please do hit the like button. It helps out. And check out the rest of the contents on the channel. I do a lot of live streams, and of course these kind of videos will be coming out even more. I have played other games that I plan to make videos for, and you can stay tuned for that if you subscribe. Hopefully you consider it. I mean, god damn it. Anyways, I'll just end it. Bye bye, see you, and once again, thank you for watching.